So there was an article that said that the New York Giants fan base is one of the stupidest fan base in the NFL, and I was thinking to myself like, nah, that can't be right. But once you start to join different New York Giants groups, whether it's Facebook or even TikTok or Twitter, if you start to follow certain pages and just hang around our fans enough, you're gonna start seeing some ridiculous takes. So the first take is tied to a tweet that Darius Slayton replied to. So this guy named Smoked by Hyatt, which honestly Hyatt wasn't doing a lot of smoking this year, and he had three different quarterbacks, so it wasn't like you could just say, oh well, Daniel Jones is the reason why he had a horrible year. But I digress. So strange username, and Darius Slayton had replied to him and said, hey, first of all, we're gonna just highlight the fact that that fan is the one that brought up Patrick Mahomes. So no one's saying that Daniel Jones is better than Patrick Mahomes, or even comparing Daniel Jones to Patrick Mahomes. Like personally, I don't think the two names belong in the same sentence, but the New York Giant fan did that. And Darius Slayton explained to him, rightfully so, Darius Slayton is the Daniel Jones Defender of the Year. He tuned in, he said, hey, Patrick Mahomes played with a Hall of Fame receiver and tight end and the same head coach for 6 years, which, although he's a Daniel Jones Defender of the Century, he's not lying. I mean, that doesn't hurt your career. I mean, Daniel Jones has had like three different coaches, and it has nothing to do with Daniel Jones. The coach, like Joe Judge, is not a good coach. I would have preferred to keep Pat Shurmur instead of hiring Joe Judge, but we know why we fired Pat Shurmur. But Joe Judge is not a good coach. And then Dable is, I think he's a good coach, but he just doesn't seem to get along with people from what I'm hearing. So when you have, 18 different coordinators and coaches, it's not a good thing, guys. Like, no quarterback is going to be looking great in that situation. Quarterbacks, like any other position, they need stability. So it would be great to have an offensive line that's either middle of the road, just not last like it consistently is for the last 10 plus years. Those things just don't help. So, New York Giants fans, they don't like to acknowledge that when it comes to, especially Daniel Jones. They say, oh, well, he needs everything to be perfect. No, how about we just have like an average line and one talented wide receiver? It could help. Not saying that he's going to be a great quarterback or anything, because I think by now everybody should have lost faith in Daniel Jones. However, Darius Slayton, nothing wrong with what he said. That's his boy. He's defending him. The New York Giant fan, his comment is at the top, and I had to laugh at his comment because he's an idiot, and I really do feel like a lot of New York Giants fans, they're either they smoke crack or something, or they're on some kind of drugs. Because my guy said Slayton couldn't be more wrong. Daniel Jones is a receiver killer, and I thought to myself, what receiver did he kill? Because 700 yards a year for Darius Slayton is not terrible. But if he was playing with a number one, those numbers probably would be a lot better, because the number one would attract more attention. So I remember Galladay just being hurt or just being trashed when he came into play. Like, he just literally would have balls thrown to him and he just wouldn't catch them. He was supposed to be a dynamic receiver with a great catch radius, and he just sucked from what I remember. So I don't know if like I'm the only one just that remembers, Galladay sucking, or are we gonna rewrite history and we're gonna blame that on Daniel Jones? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I remember Galladay being ass. And then Darren Waller's washed. Like, I'm sorry that he's washed. I was excited to have him because he was one of my favorite tight ends. But he's washed. Like, there were some throws that I was saying to myself, well, man, DJ probably could have threw that a little bit lower. Like, there was one where he just didn't even jump. He was like, oh, I didn't expect it to be that high. Didn't jump. And everyone's like, oh, DJ threw the ball too high. And I'm like, I think the old Darren Waller would have caught that. Then there was the pass to Darren Waller. It was supposed to be a catch that turned into an interception. I think Barkley even had two of those. And those just look bad on the quarterback because the stats go to the quarterback. So you'll have 6 interceptions, but really it isn't 6. It's really about 3. And so Darren Waller, you can't blame Daniel Jones for Darren Waller because Daniel Jones got hurt. And Darren Waller wasn't balling after Daniel Jones got hurt. So, a lot of people like to say that Tyrod Taylor and Danny DeVito played better. And then you look at the numbers and you're like, this is what you call better? Like, the Giants still struggled. I still believe the issue is really the OC, Kafka. I don't know why he's back. I really feel like he's the issue. So I wasn't impressed by any of the quarterbacks this year, to be honest. None. But let's go on to the next bad take. So on to the next post from another New York Giant fan who's just ridiculous. Another one of those fans that have a hard on for Daniel Jones. Like a lot of people hate when you defend Daniel Jones, but won't acknowledge that the people who talk the most about Daniel Jones are the ones that don't like him. Like there are, I think a majority of the fan base isn't happy with Daniel Jones, but a lot of us are intelligent enough to just say it's really not up to us when he goes. We're just gonna wait for him to go via Joe Shane or John Mara. There's not much I can do about it. Like crying about it doesn't help. But we always have these fans that every day they wake up and they post something that has to do with Dan Jones, and this is another example of one. So my guy says that if the Giants draft Rome or Mikel, will they be better than Hyatt and Robinson? Considering that those two college wide receivers had talent thrown to them. So, another one of those guys that don't think anything of Daniel Jones. And so what he thinks is, oh, okay, well, these guys are supposed to be good, but Daniel Jones is the reason why Hyatt and Robinson aren't good. But if we're being realistic, right, check this out. Coming into the draft for Hyatt, his comparison was Deshaun Jackson. Robinson's comparison was Jamison Crowder. Those make sense to me. I don't know what you guys were expecting. Maybe you guys are stupid and you're expecting something else. Maybe you guys think Robinson's supposed to be Odell Beckham, but that's not what I saw. Rome, his comparison is Jamar Chase. And Malik, his comparison has been DJ Moore on the low end and Antonio Brown on the high end. So you tell me which two receivers are better. Obviously, we can't draft both, but if we draft one, those guys they're built to be number one wide receivers. We haven't had a number one wide receiver since Odell Beckham. I know we think that, the quarterback is supposed to elevate wide receivers, and a good quarterback does help a good wide receiver. Like, it makes it easier for him. However, sometimes when you're good as a wide receiver, that doesn't matter. So all the stuff that we complain about when we say, oh, Daniel Jones's ball placement isn't that great, that doesn't matter to good receivers. We don't have good receivers, guys. I'm sorry to tell you guys. Well, I'm not going to say good. We don't have elite wide receivers. There hasn't been one since Odell Beckham. We have receivers that are serviceable. They're good. They're wide receiver twos at best. And I would think Wandell could be a wide receiver two elsewhere. Hyatt maybe. Right now, they're all wide receiver threes, including a Slayton and anybody else that we have on the roster. Hodgins. Like, there's no number one wide receiver on the New York Giants, guys. But the fact that somebody thinks that the top three wide receivers in the draft are going to get held back by Daniel Jones is crazy to me, because if you think about it, we could have had Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson went to the Jets, and you can't tell me that Zach Wilson is better than Daniel Jones. If you think that Zach Wilson's better than Daniel Jones, I just walk in front of a bus right now, because I've watched Zach Wilson play, and some of the throws that this dude's missing is ridiculous. So, yeah, he's not better. But you Garrett Wilson still had two 1,000-yard, seasons. So you can't say that drafting an elite wide receiver doesn't matter because of Daniel Jones. Like, I'm sorry to tell you guys that. All right, so this last guy is seeing what I'm seeing. First of all, I don't think Jalen Daniels is going to fall to number 6. I also don't really think that highly of Jalen Daniels. I understand that he's a Heisman winner, but there's a lot of Heisman winners that never became superstars at the NFL level. And so, I mean, if we drafted Jaden, I wouldn't be angry. I would say, hey, let's see where this goes. I mean, you got a young quarterback behind Daniel Jones. Maybe he plays next season, but he probably won't. And the way I see it with that situation, if he did fall, is I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants traded back, or if the Giants still went with a top wide receiver. You don't have any playmakers on the team. Like, Saquon Barkley can't be your only playmaker, especially if we're going to be in a situation where we might not tag Saquon. Yeah, they'll take the wide receiver one. But a lot of people have been drafting Jaden Daniels because they're thirsty. You know, a lot of people who are Giants fans feel like the biggest need right now is a quarterback. Like, you guys think that if you draft a quarterback, and go into next season with the same line that the quarterback is going to play week 1 and he's going to be so much better than Daniel Jones despite never playing an NFL game, which is crazy within itself. I mean, maybe you guys think we're going to get an offensive line during the free agency, or maybe we can draft the right tackle or something later on in the draft. But realistically, in my opinion, the right move is to just take Malik. Take Malik or take Rome and take Bo Nix or whatever quarterback they like in round 2 and have him sit behind Daniel Jones. And, Daniel Jones is not the toughest quarterback in terms of, he's not an Iron Man like Eli Manning. So, he could be in a situation where he might miss a game, which I wouldn't be surprised if he played every single game next season, just because there's a potential cut in the summer of next year. So, but there's that. So I'm with this guy. Stop mocking Jay. Every time I see a mock draft with Jalen Daniels, I just kind of just cringe because I'm like, I don't think he's gonna be there. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't draft him. But that's it for the takes in this video. I'm gonna call this episode 1. I gotta figure out a name, but I'm gonna keep uploading the fan opinions / takes, and you guys can tell me which ones you agree with. Do you agree with the crazy 2 that I first posted? Maybe you're one of those fans, or maybe you're a sane fan like myself that's just like, hey, that's not exactly how it happened, or I don't agree with that, but maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think.